one of the most interesting things to me about media, television, movies are the things that we can glean from it from our child pause the things that we can glean from it for our own real lives and our own real relationships. And in the case of Bridgerton, Lord Marcus Anderson and Lady Violet Bridgerton, their mature love story arc gives us so much juiciness to pull from for our own relationships. Okay, this from and for hopefully does not trip me up this whole this whole video. They give us a lot of juiciness. And today I want to talk about that juice. I want to talk about that juice. And yeah, whether you've watched Bridgerton or not, there are going to be things that you can pull from this conversation. So pull up a chair, join in around why Violet and Marcus are the true diamonds of the season to me. I have three scenes in particular that I want to jump into. Now, full disclosure, if you haven't seen any of it, big spoiler alert, because I am going to at least talk about a couple of these three examples. And if you haven't seen the second half, the third one will definitely be a spoiler. So if you want to exit, now would be the time. So the the first scene that we see, and this was in part one, and is around them having a conversation about wanting each other. They're in a society where if you're an unmarried lady or gentleman, you should be handling yourself with a certain level of decorum, and them wanting each other and both not being, but both, they're not married to each other, can be an issue, right? She has been a widower and so is he. And so, or she's a widow and he's a widower, I think the male, if I remember correctly. Men are widowers and women are widows, but they have lost spouses. They're grown, okay, mature love. So they're sitting in the parlor and they're having this conversation just to set the scene for you before I talk about like the juice that we should be taking from this. And she is expressing very coy in a coy way that she wants him, and he is letting her know, I also want you. But then there's the but in the room, and that is, but she's nervous. She's been married for, a long time before she became a widow. She's had 8 children. Her body is different. It's been a long time because poor Violet can't even talk about her body, the pinnacle, sex, physical intimacy, but she wants it. She knows she wants it. And she, nervously lets Marcus know in this parlor that she does want him, but she's nervous. And he lets her know subsequently, I want you to, and I'm not going to push you. When you're ready, I'm here. I respect that. And that was the conversation. There's more to this little arc that I want to talk about, but in that moment, right? How many times have we been in situations, you're in a situation where you want to share something with your spouse, but you're actually embarrassed to say it, or you're shy about it, or you're not so comfortable? It takes a level of courage, right? It takes a level of vulnerability to share what you really want and what you really desire, especially when it comes to sex and physical intimacy. There might be something that you want to do, that you want to bring up, that you don't know what your partner's response is going to be. There may be something that you want to change up in the relationship and you don't know what your partner's response is going to be. And it's not so comfortable to share it or to talk about it. And Violet, in that moment, I think what we can like extract from that moment is that she was uncomfortable and she did it anyway. And in our relationships, we can be uncomfortable and we can do it anyway. We can say the thing, at least put it out in the streets so that our partner is clear about what's going on in our head, what it is we want, what we're thinking. And she did that. And so did he. Marcus let her also know, hey, I want you too. It wasn't a situation where she had to guess at that. It wasn't a situation where he was in his head like, oh, since she needs to kind of wait and halt, maybe I shouldn't tell her that I desire her. He told her anyway. again, they both are exhibiting this. Okay, claps up for this mature love. Not just because they're older, because young people can have a level of maturity in their relationship too. I don't think it's necessarily always an age thing. It's, when you're real young, that's different. But we all growing in the relationship, but they've been through some things. So it's beautiful to see them just kind of put that stake in the ground for leveling up. Now, mind you, again, Violet's very shy about this. And sometimes you might not be able to look at the person. You might not be able to look at your person when you have to say the thing. It may make you uncomfortable, but you can still do it. It reminds us to lean into that sense of vulnerability. And sometimes the physical intimacy thing in real life is one of you is a microwave and you're always ready to get down with the get down, and the other one's an oven and needs a little bit more time. And are there ways that you can navigate that more comfortably when you talk about initiator and the one who's usually receiving the initiation and mixing that up? And I'm going to get to a moment in that in a second. But from that conversation, the parlor, okay, um, the vulnerability, the courage just to say what it is that you want. Who knew, right? The go figure. As human beings, it can be so challenging just to articulate what it is that we want. Sometimes we don't know what it is, but when we do know what it is, just to say it, I want this. I desire this. And I'm a little uncomfortable. I'm not quite ready, but I'm working on it. And for someone to say, like Marcus, whenever you're ready, the level of trust and reliability and comfort that he just created just by saying those words of like, I'm here when you're ready, it comes back full circle. You're going to see, stay with me, right? That right there, that foundation that he laid in that moment. So then within that same arc, right, of desire for each other, we have this moment where Violet decides, she initiates, she decides that she's going to invite him for tea and that she is the tea that he will be having. I love that line. But she initiates. I think that's important to note because when you're not ready for something, I'm not ready for something, we are not ready. And we express this to our partner, and the partner's like, okay, I'll follow your lead when you're ready. We have to remember that that partner is now in waiting. They're not moving on anything. So the partner that was not so comfortable either has to A, let them know when they have the green light so that they can initiate something, or be the initiator, right? And that that piece is crucial so that the person who's giving the space isn't just like waiting in limbo. And sometimes that just means checking in like, hey, I didn't forget, I'm thinking about this is what I recognize today, like I'm working on this part and I notice that if I do this, the things that you're aware of, I noticed that I, looked in the mirror today and I felt even more confident. And that's when I feel like, yes, I'm ready. I'm preheated, whatever. And you're sharing whatever it is for you and you're sharing that with your partner. I know that I've talked to couples for whom it's a simple initiation, right? There might be like a candle. That's their special candle. And when the one that's a little bit shyer, needs a little bit more preheating, is open and ready, they'll light the candle. And that's a signal that it's a go. I'm ready, right? You might be like, that's a subtle initiation. You're not pouncing on the person, but you work up to things. You have your ways of getting there. What's the lowest hanging fruit that you can grab hold of that still gives you the result that we want to get? That's part of the spaciousness, letting people come in their own time. And so Violet having this moment is a reminder to us that when we do take our time to take it intentionally, to think things through for real, to come and check in with our partner about what's coming up for us, and when we are ready, letting them know, green light, green means go, or switching it up and being the initiator in some way, shape, or form, in whatever way is the most comfortable. That moment that she has before Lord Anderson comes in, before she announces that he is the tea that he will be having, when she's just staring in the mirror, it was beautiful. And mind you, I think in relationships, so these are things that I don't think the average person takes from a show like this, or really any show. And so I'm like, I want this to be in the conversation. I want to be able to put this in the mix. She's looking at herself in the mirror. She has on her tea outfit, okay, her lingerie, doing her thing. And there's this moment for me where it feels like she's not saying a lot. She's just kind of checking herself, looking, where she is realizing that she has desire, and it's okay that she has desire, and that she is also desirable. And I think that was big because her hesitation was like, look, I've been married for a long time. It's been a while. My body's different. I had these 8 kids, all the things that go through our head when you are like, am I still desirable? My body looks different than it did when you first wanted me, because of kids, because of life, because of age, because of health. So many reasons why our physical may change. And that also affects how we feel about ourselves, what our mental state is. And so this look in the mirror was an acceptance of like, I want this and I deserve to desire, and also I'm desirable. And it's a reminder to me of the work that we have to do on self to make sure that we feel desirable. Perhaps it's something that you put on and that you wear. I talked about this in a video where I talked about when I stopped wearing my husband's clothes postpartum with my son a few years ago, and how it took the outer to help me really start to deal with acceptance of the inner. And that sometimes it looks like that in the journey. And so for her, she put on this cute little blue baby blue number, and she looked herself in the mirror and she was like, okay, I see you, girl. Sometimes it takes that, whatever's going to allow you to start to feel good in your body, and reminder that that work starts with us. So she had that moment in the mirror. They could have cut that and they didn't. Before he comes in and she tells him, I'm the tea, drink up, you know, which again, beautiful things we can glean from that. And then we have, I think, after all of this great clarity and trust building and going for it, we have a hiccup with them. And it's the conversation that they first have around marriage. She starts to be like, oh, we can't be out there because we're two unmarried people hooking up. I mean, I'm using modern terms. She obviously didn't say this, but hooking up in my family home. And we can't really be out in the streets because we're not married. And he was like, well, should we talk about this marriage thing? And she was kind of taken aback. And I was like, what do you think about that? And he was kind of like, well, I don't know if it would be some kind of relief if we didn't have to deal with the marriage aspect right now. And then the conversation stops. And she later says, we need to follow up on this conversation. And they do. And her response, I love this. Her response was like, before he can really say anything. So what would you basically what you mean? It would have been a relief if we don't get married. What you trying to say? Like, you don't want to be with me, you don't want to marry me, I'm not wifey material. And Marcus had to be like, whoa. Hold up, wait a second. Wait a minute. I just said that because I know you have 11 million things going on with your kids and your children and your family right now. And I didn't want to add to that with the betrothal and a whole thing. And let me be clear, I will marry you right now. Okay, let's get married. I want to build a life with you. You kidding me? I love you. And she was like, oh. For me, this was so relatable because as human beings, and as human beings in relationship, the number of times that we assume something and then we act or respond on the assumption before we're even clear about what that person really means. Okay. If I had a quarter for every assumption someone made in a couple, I would be a billionaire. I would own the earth. Okay. It happens so often, myself included. We're humans. We hear something. Somebody says something and we hear something and we make it mean something, a lot of times unconsciously, and then we respond to that thing we made it mean as opposed to what they actually said. So it's beautiful, like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean. If you know, you know. And I think you know. But what's beautiful is that she asked a question. She's already kind of riled up because she already assumed what he was trying to say and what she made it mean in her head. But she asked the question and she gave Marcus an opportunity to clarify. To be like, no, 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 no. Don't get it twisted. This is what I actually meant by this. And I love you and I would marry you right now today. What are you talking about? She was like, oh. And then she took it in, she didn't fight it. And she was like, okay, that's the clarity that I needed. And the juice that we can get from this moment is not that we're never going to assume anything, because that's unrealistic. And I deal in practicality and realism when it comes to my relationship with self, how I see the world, my relationship with my husband, is that when we do make assumption, to be open to the fact that our partner can clarify and allowing them to clarify, and then realizing, oh, we made an assumption, as opposed to doubling down on our response to that assumption. That was so key in that moment, because we see the arc in their relationship from just being super clear and super just like, this is what I want, this is how I'm feeling uneasy about this, but now I'm ready and let's do it, and being open to this moment where Violet kind of was moving on assumption and Marcus had to clarify, but then they course corrected so quickly and it got real so quickly that you're like, oh, okay, it's no big deal. But many an arguments have, or conversations rather, have gone left into argument land based upon assumptions. Sometimes both are assuming something, and your assumptions are arguing, but the reality of the situation is really different. We just didn't get a chance to get to it yet. And that's where the clarity gets to come in, you know? And so I love that scene, that we can be like, okay, let's check our assumptions. Let's be aware that we're most likely going to have them. They're going to come. It's going to happen. We're human beings. And then let's check ourselves. And let's allow our partners to check us sometime. Like, oh, that's not what I meant. Let me share what I meant. And then giving them the space to actually do that. Kudos to Violet and Marcus on that one. And then we got this last scene. This is the one I said, like, if you haven't seen part two, it'll probably be a spoiler for you, because I did not see it coming. I did not see it coming. Perhaps I should have, but I did not see it coming. And I was focused on their arc this season because especially in part two, I wasn't really that impressed or pressed or drawn into the main love story this season. I was really into a lot of the sub stories for, just watching kind of Francesca battle the way this is my aside, but watching her battle and the friendship between the Queen and Lady Danbury, and then this Marcus and Lady Violet. So this third part, didn't see it coming, but Violet basically, I think emboldened by the foundation that I said that we were coming back to this, the foundation that Marcus left when she shyly told him that she wants him, but she's uncomfortable. And he said, I'm here when you're ready. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. Level conversation. Ooh, the safety in that. She felt safe now to voice something with more boldness than she did initially around desiring him. And that something was, I recently realized that I am getting to know myself again. I have been a wife for so long, and I've been a mother for so long. I'm still a mother, but I've, mothered all these children from young. My kids are getting older, and I'm realizing that there's a part of me that was lost in that process that I'm just recognizing that I want to get back and I want to grab a hold of. And her offer, and we talk about Benedict's offer, but her offer to him was, and this is in modern terms, she did not say like this, but hey, can we just kick it like we've been kicking it and keep hooking it up and not be married? Because mind you, when he said he would marry her, that was a betrothal. They were betrothed at that point, basically engaged. And she's basically saying at this point, can we break up this engagement thing? I don't think I want to be a wife right now. I do care for you. I want to continue doing this thing that we're doing. And also, I want the freedom to not be a wife and do my own thing and discover myself. And he did not like that. And he, in true Lord Marcus Anderson fashion, was very honest with her that that's not what he wants. He wants to live a life out loud in the open with her, doesn't basically want to live in a situationship while she is discovering herself. And also, all he wants for her is her happiness. And if this is what she wants for herself, then he wants her to go for it, but it's not what he wants for himself. And he also wants to be happy. And I was like, Marcus, Marcus, you you better say what you gotta say in a way that still honors who you are and honors who she is. How often do we sometimes just go along? You just go along with your partner because it's easier, because you don't want to lose them, because you don't want to make them upset, because you don't want to rock the boat, instead of honestly, but also respectfully saying what it is that you really want, and stake, kind of staking your ground and anchoring in that space. I'm like, I hear you. And I don't know how we reconcile this, but this is my truth. You just shared yours and I'm going to share mine. And now, with the truths laid out on the table, we can figure out how to reconcile this. Now, granted, they're not married yet, they were just betrothed. If you're already in a marriage, that can be more challenging because it's not like you're just going to leave the marriage if your truths don't necessarily align. You're now in a situation where, how do we figure this out? How do we navigate this? Because there's two things happening here that I noticed. I see with my relationship and one is the discomfort we feel when you feel like you've made a decision with your partner and then they recognize something or something happens, something's triggered, and they switch up on you. And that's how it feels. It feels like you switched up on me. We were literally betrothed, woman. And now you're saying you just want to be single and free and hook up with me occasionally. Like that's a blow. And while Violet needs to share her truth, we also have to recognize that that's a blow to someone who wants to marry you. But you still got to shoot your shot and see. Maybe they're okay with it. You don't know. She still had to share it. She still had to say it. But man, I didn't see that coming. I was like, oh, snap. You know, in the situation where you made a decision and want shifts, you have to kind of explore where the shift came from. Explore if there's a gray area or a new nuance that you both can live in and you both can live with. And where that one place in which I feel like that gray area or that nuance lies is in getting away from this idea that you can either have the relationship or you can work on yourself. This is not such a back in the day Regency era concept. Literally several years ago, I did a summit, and then we did a live panel with all of the speakers, and we had the attendees there. And I remember that attendee asked me, she said, how do you navigate working on self and working on your marriage? I feel like I have to choose. And of course, my coach had, it's like, okay, why do you feel like you have to choose? And we go back and forth. I'll spare you that bit of like figuring out where her head was. But if we look at Violet, right, what I hear Lady Bridgerton saying is that if I am a wife, and whatever wife means to her, how she's supposed to act, how she's supposed to move, what she's supposed to do, then I cannot, do these other things. I can't become more of myself. I can't discover myself. I can't see what my passions are. I have to be a wife. And to that, I say, why? It's both and. How often does it come up that you may feel as if I have all of these things that I want to do and that I'm passionate about, I want to do for myself, but I'm also married, I'm also in partnership, and I feel like I can't do it because of it. Or I really need to focus in on my relationship, and we haven't been connecting, we're busy, we're exhausted. So I'm probably gonna have to put myself on the back burner. And what I'm saying is, what if we looked at it as a both and? I have been with my man for 17 years. I am absolutely not the same person at 23 as I am now at 41. And in a few years, we were together for 20 years. And in a few years more than that, like 7, 8 years, we will have been together more than we have not been together, right? More, we will have been together more than we've been single in our lives, which is wild to think about. And in every step of the way, I have grown, I have elevated, I have figured things out about myself. And even in this channel, you'll see me, you're witnessing, I am sharing with you right here elements of myself that I am discovering or rediscovering in this very moment. And I have had several seasons like that while in relationship with this man. I don't stop becoming because I'm in partnership. Neither do you. Neither does he. Neither do we, right? We don't stop becoming because we're in partnership, but there's something about being in partnership, right? It's like saying I'm a parent, so now I can't have fun. Or now that it's not just the two of us anymore and we have kids, I guess we can't travel anymore. Like, we put these boxes around these labels, but are they really there? Or did we just put them there based on messages that we have internalized? This was the juice. Pour all the juice. Okay, get the big 32-ounce gulp cup and because you have the opportunity to continue to become and to work on relationship. They are not these separate, and you're a separate entity, but they meld into each other. The more you work on self and who you're becoming and discovering your passions, the richer your relationship becomes. Right? So in working on yourself, in doing that work, you're enhancing and elevating your relationship. You're becoming the version of yourself that you wanted to step into, and your partner gets to see that, your spouse gets to see that, you get to share that with them. There's a richness that you start to infuse into a relationship because of that. And in the joy that is happening in the relationship, it is seeping into, how you feel on you yourself. Now, granted, there's always nuance, right? Every situation is different, but ultimately, I'd argue it's a both and situation, that you are still working on self. I'm introspective, I'm retrospective, I'm all the spectives while I'm with my man and he's doing his own work. It's two individuals growing and doing it side by side and together. And that in and of itself, child, that's why in Islam, they talk about the fact that marriage is half your deen, half your religion, right? Half your responsibility. And I truly believe it's because in a partnership, going through life with another whole person who's dealing with their own self, and you are dealing with your stuff and yourself, bringing that together in long-term partnership, you are, for lack of a better word, I want to say force, but I don't like that word. What's a better word, y'all? You are really compelled to look at yourself, confront yourself, the smooth parts and the sharper edges of who you are, and decide who you want to be, decide how you're going to grow and lean into that. Because having someone mirror back your stuff to you on a regular basis, that moves you to grow. So if you're in a season where you need to go to therapy, if you're in a season where you're like, I want to quit a career I've had for the last 15 years and go back to school, or I want to start my own thing, or whatever that season is for you, and you're in a season of change and transition personally, allow that to be something that helps to grow and elevate your relationship. Now, again, every situation is different. There definitely can be resistance that comes up, not just from you, right? But resistance from your partner with you changing. Because when our identities start to shift, the identities we've put on, okay, start to shift in the eyes of our partner, It can be scary for them, and they may react a certain way. And so it's not to say it's without challenge, and yet and still, hopefully, my hope that we take from this, and even as I'm saying it as a reminder to myself, is that, yo, like, we still grow alongside our partners, and they grow as well. And, you know, asterisks, you're not going to both grow at the same pace and at the same time, but you can still grow. So I hope, like, underlying, and I just want to repeat that thing because I was like, okay, that's something that you don't stop becoming because you're in partnership. Not unless you decide that that's what you're going to do. And so for Violet, my question is kind of like, what does a wife mean to you? Does a wife mean you stop pursuing your passions? Does a wife mean that you stop becoming who you want to be? Does the wife mean that you stop discovering who you are? Because, you know, I wanted to say baby girl, but she grown, right? So I'm like, with all due respect, ma'am, right? I'm gonna address you that way. With all due respect, you're in a different season in your life. You and Marcus are both widows. You've done this marriage thing before. You had one relationship. And perhaps in that relationship, being that it was your first marriage, being that if you were young, you had to deal in a certain way as a wife. You had to present a certain way as a wife. Maybe not even because he asked that of you, but because you were putting that on yourself, or because you felt society was putting that on you. How many of us can relate to that? Like, this is the way I'm supposed to be in a marriage. This is how a wife is supposed to act. I can't have fun anymore. Can't drop it like it's hot. I don't know. Right? But you can still do your thing. You can still do your thing. What did that mean to you? But I would say your past relationship is not your current one. Marcus may very well be like, I want you to be happy, girl. Pursue whatever you want to pursue. Discover yourself. I just want to be with you, and I want to be with you out loud. I don't want a situationship. And I want you to be happy. He said this. And so I'm not going to stop you from discovering yourself or who you are. She didn't even give Marcus that chance to talk about that. And Marcus didn't really say to her, like, you can still do that and be with me, or do you just not want to be married, period? But is it because you think marriage means something, means a suppressing of sorts of who you are and what you want? It's not like she said, look, I want to be with you, but I also want to discover if I want to be with a whole bunch of other people. I don't think that's what she was saying. I guess time will tell on the show. But what she actually said was basically she didn't want to be a wife. She'd been a wife for a long time. So that's why I'm like, what does being a wife mean to you? If you really just want to exclusively be with Marcus and you want to discover and rediscover yourself and the joys of that, what's that like? Because it's not like she's been single for years since her husband passed. So it's not that she hasn't been able to be single, but she hasn't been able to be single and pursue kind of who she is because she just realized that's what she wanted to do. So time will tell on that. But yeah, all the stuff that I said with this last part was what we can glean from them, which is really quite exciting, right? I think their arc was amazing this season. I think what they were able to showcase in the different, not being the main couple, but to be able to showcase all of these elements that I think are really relatable in our relationships and our partnerships and marriages. I was here for it. I was like, yes, let's have more Marcus and Violet on the screen talking about their relationship and what it is that they want from that. So that's what I got for you. I hope that this was helpful. This was good. There's something that resonated with you. There's something that you enjoyed about it. If that's the case, please let me know down below. Hey, I'm Imani Aisha, and here we're having conversations on how we can create more feel good relationship with self and with our partners, even in the midst of change and transition and challenge, which are inevitable. And if that is your vibe, you like that kind of thing, and you want to join in the conversation, if that's your vibe, please subscribe. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It's always so helpful. If you're in a space where you want to have more intention around your relationship, you want to delve in a little bit deeper and have some support and be in community around that, meet me in the description. And yeah, I'm going to see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, for listening up until this point, up until the end. I will, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. I said that already. Endings are rough for me. I'm going to get better. I'm here on the YouTube. I'm a recovering rambler. And so ending the conversation on here always feels just a teeny bit awkward for me, but I'm working on it. But I want to see you tomorrow. Thanks again for watching.